You are listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector here at the Private Officer Beat Radio. Every week you'll hear breaking news, topics of training, information for the industry of security, public safety, and law enforcement. So strap in, hang on, we're about to speed off in this episode of the Private Officer Beat Radio. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio. I'm your host, Rick McCann. So glad to have you with us on this, mid-April day, 2021, working right through the month of April. So much going on, both with our business and the world today. Quite a few headline stories that we need to get to as quickly as possible. I do want to remind you, though, this month is the annual Private Officer Awards program. Be sure to submit your coworker, your employer, supervisor, or even yourself for one of the many awards available to not only the members of our association, but as well as non-members. We open it up to everyone this time of year. There's no cost, no fee. We're going to give everyone possible the recognition that they deserve. Go to our website at privateofficer.org and nominate someone today, or send us an email at helpdesk@privateofficer.com. While you're at it, why don't you go ahead and sign up for our breaking news alerts. Absolutely free. You're going to have the fastest alert on significant breaking stories, news headlines from public safety, loss prevention, law enforcement, and private security. And you're also going to get alerts and notifications when officers are killed in the line of duty. Again, privateofficer.org, O-R-G, absolutely free, and definitely we will not be spamming you. We don't sell you information, and it doesn't cost anything. What do you got to lose? If you have any questions, of course, there's only one contact that really matters 24/7, and that's helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Later today in our program, we're going to be talking about a little touchy subject, and I've titled it, Arrest Me If You Can, because as you see across the country and really around the globe, it doesn't stop at the borders of the United States. It actually carries through to many, many countries. More and more law enforcement officers are being charged not only for shooting someone using excessive force, but other things like assault and charges that normally wouldn't be brought by any district attorney or prosecuting attorney. But since we have a new wave of this anti-police, defund the police, protests and riots and activists, in the last 2 years we've seen a lot of police officers arrested. But it doesn't stop there either. We've mentioned this previously on our radio programs. All of this unfortunate situations that are happening in law enforcement are overflowing to private security. We're seeing private security officer arrested multiple times a day across the country. Right now, we have hundreds of arrests of private security, and we're going to bring you the top 8 charges brought against private security, not just in 2021, but it's also been in 2020 and 2019 and 2018 and 2017. Almost every year we see a similar array of charges, although in the last 2 to 3 years, charges definitely there's been an uptick and they've increased, but they seem to be in the similar categories, although a few new ones have been added. So we're going to be talking about that at the bottom half of our program. We do everything we can to instruct, instill, inform not only our members, but everyone who is willing to listen to our programs or our radio shows, read our news alerts, our media, our blogs. We try to give the information out, a big, broad picture, so that everyone's aware of what's going on. And unfortunately, as you're going to hear at the end, the bottom half of the show, even when we do that, even those who have heard about what's going on, they let their guard down, they don't pay attention, and they wind up being arrested. So arrest me if you can. Unfortunately, a lot of people think that they are YouTube attorneys, that they know the law, they know the Constitution, and it's just putting them behind bars because they don't know. And we'll be talking pretty in depth. We may even carry this over to a secondary conversation on next week's program. But right now, I do want to tell you about Body Armor USA. We've got what it takes to protect you. No doubt at all. Our friends at Body Armor USA, we have all the latest protective gear, all of the highest level body armor. We have stab-resistant vest and gloves, protective clothing. BodyArmorUSA.com. Check them out online. Give them a call today. We've got what it takes to protect you. Also in today's show, we want to bring you some highlights of some interesting things that have occurred over the last week since our last radio program. And we're going to tell you about a brand new academy when we come back from our first break. A brand new academy that we're so excited about. We've been talking about this for quite some time, and now it's coming to fruition, and it takes a while. We can't develop things overnight. We're very busy with our companies, our business, and much more, but we have finally got things together, and we'll be talking about that when we come back here in a few minutes. Also, today on the program, we're going to be talking about a couple of other things that we've seen happening in the security industry, and if you are interested in being part of the conversation about workplace safety and working with our new National Public Safety and Security Institute and helping us to locate information, stay on top of the local news in your area that is involving security, loss prevention, public safety, and law enforcement, then we'd like to hear from you at helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Those of you who are already involved, we will be having our next conference call next week. I'll be in Tennessee, but I will be able to take that conference call, and we will get that email out to you this week telling you the date and time ahead of the call so that you all can be on it. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio, and we're coming right back.
Every year, 7 million animals are given up for adoption, and only about 4 million find another home. There are thousands of animals all across the country looking for a loving home. Abandoned, lost, and in need of care. But there is something you can do. Volunteer at a local animal shelter, donate, or adopt and give a home to an animal in need.
If you're not already receiving breaking news and our bi-weekly newsletter, Officer Down reports, and discount training news in your personal or business email, then go to our website right now at privateofficer.org. Privateofficer.org. A Dropbox will come down. Just fill out your info, and you'll be the first, one of the first, for sure, to know about what's happening in the security industry. You'll know when a security officer is killed. You'll also get these great discounts on training and equipment and so much more. Privateofficer.org. Are you shopping around for armed or unarmed security training, CPR, first aid training, lethal or non-lethal training in and around the greater Metro Charlotte area? Do you want to be SLED certified so that you can maybe start a new career or make some part-time income? Then check out Premier Training Academy, Charlotte, North Carolina's leading academy for all things training. 704-806-4933. Arrest me if you can. Unfortunately, many security officers are finding that, actually they can arrest you, and for multiple reasons. And even though sometimes it may not stick, it's still the whole process. And we're going to talk about that in our topic segment coming up here in just a little bit. We told you that there's a lot going on across the country, and one of those things that we're excited to bring you on this episode is the fact that Armor College, our sister company, has been working for a while now on putting together a private police academy. And that private police academy is done. This will be both an online and in-class part of our school. The academy is certified by a number of agencies. So in numerous situations, depending on the state, when you complete the course, you will be certified as a private/special police officer, again, depending on the state. Now, the number of training hours required by each state is different. Just like we said on our show a few weeks ago when we were talking about private police, then every state has their own mandates on training, which is the same for full-time regular police. Some states it might be 740. Another state it might be just 12 weeks, which is 480 hours. Each state is sovereign, and they have the right to decide how many hours should be required. So the same is true for private and special police. Now, we will offer 25 different courses and certifications, including weapons, de-escalation, emotionally disturbed person certification, crisis intervention certification, and the training certifications needed to operate as a private or special police in 5 states to begin with, and then we're going to add several more. And on top of all of these courses, one of the other big opportunity courses that you can take is that we will offer you, for a very reasonable tuition, a course on how to start a private police agency in your state if your state allows it, and we'll identify those states as part of the training as well. As we said, we talked about this a few weeks ago on the private police segments of the Part 1 and Part 2 that we did. There's over 30 states that have some type of statute that allows for private and special police. So you're probably in one of those states. There's, it's growing all the time. Now, the need for this training is just becoming huge, and more opportunities continue to rise with the defund police and privatize and civilians and let's be policed by us and so forth. And with the private police, we're finding that they are actually being called and used more than ever. And so our private police academy really fits right in with that. I told you a few weeks ago about accreditation, certification, licensing. We're going to go all through that as well in our private police agency ownership. If you want to get more information, these courses and the private police academy will be live and available on, I believe it's May 5th. It's going to be the second Tuesday of May. And I'm not looking at a calendar. Somebody help me out. When is that exactly? Hold on, because I want you to have all of the right information. So it's actually going to be May 11th, 2021. That's less than a month away. Our private police academy will be live and available. Like I said, some courses are going to be available online. You'll be able to take those courses immediately. Some courses we're going to have to do in person. Now, the great thing that we have to offer you on that part is that we're not limited by the state where that class has to be taught. So in most cases, we can teach it in any state. We can bring it to you any place. And we'll talk more about that before the academy officially opens. I think this is exciting. It will cover not only private police, but probation officers, community service officers, community outreach officers, parking enforcement. We're going to really be able, I think, to change a lot of lives, and this is the perfect timing. We didn't plan it this way, but it's really turning out to be the perfect time. I really, I know that there's people out there who may not be qualified. And I want you to understand, we are going to have to do a background check on you once it reaches a certain state. Some states require a background check before you take the course, and others will require it after the course. So we'll let you know which states are which. We will really walk you through, step by step, all of the various processes. In the meantime, if you'd like a little bit more information, contact us at where? helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We'll give you information, and we'll direct you to the Armory College supervisor who's going to be in charge of that course, Dave Allen, and we'll also give you kind of a course lineup and some other things to expect. But on May 2nd, 1st or 2nd, we'll be putting out a news letter alert. We'll also be putting out a press alert. We'll also be going public. We'll be talking on at least one radio show about this opportunity, so we'll give you a heads up. We're going to take a quick break. You are listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio, and we're sure glad that you are. We'll be right back.
It's a very simple thing. It only takes 2 seconds. We all know we should do it. We all say we do it. But do we? About 35,000 people were killed in motor vehicle accidents last year. More than half were not wearing a seatbelt. A brother, a father, a mother, a best friend. Is it worth it? I lost a sister. Don't let it happen to you and your family. Tell the people you love to buckle up.
The Federal Aviation Administration wants you to fly your drone responsibly. Avoid flying your drone near other aircraft, especially near airports. Fly your drone below 400 feet. Always keep your drone in sight. If you see a safety issue involving drones, contact local law enforcement immediately. Fly smart. Fly safe. Have fun.
Welcome back this morning, as we've got still quite a bit here on the old roster of the show to talk about. We're not quite finished. Of course, we've been telling you during the whole program that later on in the show we will be talking about a topic that seems to be a little bit sore with many people, and that is arrest me if you can. Private security officers being arrested across the country in record numbers, and we're certainly going to try and sort that out a little bit for you later in today's show, as well as possibly into next week's radio show. And remember, this month is our annual Private Officer Award program. Nominate a friend, a coworker, a supervisor, company owner, or even yourself for one of the many awards being given this year, including the COVID-19 Frontline Award. If you haven't already seen the nomination form, go to our website at privateofficer.org or contact our help desk at helpdesk@privateofficer.com. I think I gave you the wrong address. It's helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. for that nomination form, or you can also go to our website at privateofficer.org. A lot of different businesses, a lot of different websites, and of course a lot of different emails, a lot of different information. It does get confusing. We talked last year before the COVID pandemic came around about a new documentary series called The Frontline Protectors, and the first one is going to roll out soon. This first episode of The Frontline Protectors will feature several unsolved cases and mysterious disappearances of private security from their job site. And at least twice, sometimes more, a year, a security officer will go suddenly disappearing from their post, from their assignment, and not be heard of for quite some time. We're going to be debuting this coming up, be sure to be receiving our emails in your mailbox to announce this upcoming Frontline Protector documentary series. Sign up today at privateofficer.org. Right now, that box will drop down. You can fill out your information. You'll get all that, headlines, officer down reports, and, of course, the notice about the new Frontline Protectors in your email box. Remember also that you can go to our daily news blog at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com, privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com to hear, see, read the latest news for yourself. We update it every day with public safety, private security, law enforcement, loss prevention news. Get it right there at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com. Oh, my goodness, just always so much to talk about, and indeed, this is no different. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a proud member of Private Officer International and you own a business, any type of business, I've got a friend of mine who makes custom holsters. I've got a friend of mine who makes custom boots. I've got a friend of mine who is a knife manufacturing business, has a knife manufacturing business. If you have a business, a service, a product, maybe you provide private security, maybe you provide loss prevention, whatever it might be. If you're a proud member of POI, contact help desk at privateofficer.com right now, because for the rest of this month and all of next month, we'll advertise your business, your service entirely free on the POI platforms. That includes our multiple websites, our radio shows, our newsletters, and all of our social media platforms. And I said it's going to cost you how much? Oh, that's right. I said it was free. Absolutely free. Be sure to contact us, help desk at privateofficer.com. If you want a free advertisement of your service or product, be sure to include your contact information. If you have a website, include that. Social media, please include that information. A phone number, very important, and we will put that together for you. A lot of scuttlebutt happening across the country with the COVID-19 vaccines. I've got mine. Have you received yours? In my situation, it was mandatory for several different agencies that I work for. And some companies now are making it mandatory. Schools are making it mandatory. If you work in and around a hospital, it's mandatory. Yes, your employer can definitely make you get a vaccine unless you quit. I don't know if finances should overrule vaccines or vaccines overrule the finances. But I can tell you this, it's like a flu shot, and you're going to have to take it probably for the next few years, maybe even every year. We don't know yet. And, yes, there's going to be some kickback, maybe some adverse reactions. Maybe things happen. I know in Virginia, out of 5 million shots, only 1,078 people had any type of reaction from any of the shots. And, of course, you probably heard about J&J, Johnson & Johnson. They halted those vaccines, but they're on again after they tested. And any clotting that was caused in some patients was not related to the COVID vaccine, according to lab report. And so all of the vaccines, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, they're all back on and all being distributed by the hundreds of thousands and now well into the millions across the country. When I come back from this break, we are going to be talking about Command Staff, a 20-week course that begins, well, I'll tell you when I come back when it begins. We're also going to be talking about a brand new course for our members and listeners and followers, and that's called Financial Intelligence. Yeah. We could all probably use a little bit of that. In fact, I know some accountants, CPAs, gurus in the finance world want financial intelligence taught in high school, and I'm all for it. And if I can progress that or move that forward, I think it would be well worth it. If they had that course when I was in high school, I would know how to handle my cash better. I wouldn't spend as much. I'd be able to balance my checkbook without having to ask a secretary or my parents or someone like that. So financial intelligence, we'll tell you more about that. We're coming right back. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio.
That's right. I'm dead. I got shot. I'm not supposed to be dead. I'm only 17. And now I can't see my 18th birthday because I'm a fatal victim of gun violence. My friends, my family, my own mother was devastated. Can't see her son anymore because of gun violence. And everyone's here at the funeral. But before they lay me to rest, there's just one last thing I have to do.
It's just a tragic.
How many more of us have to die from gun violence? Let's put a stop to this, because if we don't, the next time it could be your child lying in this casket.
Brought to you by Man Up Inc. USA, a proud member of the Gun Violence Awareness Movement.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector right here on the Private Officer Radio Network. Now don't go away, because we are coming right back when we've got a whole lot more right here on the Private Officer Beat Radio. Command Staff College. We've been talking about this now for several months, and it's finally coming to fruition to the point where it has been scheduled in partnership with the Sheriff's Association as well as a Command Staff School. The 20-week program will be open to all frontline supervisors, commanders, business security-related operators, private police, and many others. We'll be sending out a direct email in the next few weeks for you to register for the June 8th Command Staff College. This is a very intense 200-plus hour course that will cover everything from human rights and human resources to the laws that govern what we can and cannot do as supervisors and managers, and a lot of the frontline supervisory skills that's necessary for all levels of supervisors, commanders, and chiefs. And we're very excited to be able to present this at a very economical tuition. We will be discussing this again and sending out further information on this. Moments ago, I told you that this is the month, April, when we do our annual Private Officer Award program. Be sure to get yourself or someone else nominated, because there are so many people out there deserving of being recognized. And I want to read this email that was sent to me by a POI member in North Carolina. And this just highlights the extent of our frontline protectors being that person who is always going to be initially involved in situations. It doesn't matter if you're at a patient care facility, a school, a shopping mall. It doesn't matter where you're at. But this is the email that I received just recently from this POI member, a female, who I know quite well. And I want you to hear what these frontline protectors go through on a daily basis. So she starts off her email letting me know of a situation that happened to her. She works at a hospital and is the assistant director of security and also communications for their facility. A patient at the hospital who was later found to be intoxicated with meth became unruly at the hospital. Security was dispatched, and our POI member was one of those officers who responded to the disturbance. She goes on to tell me that she wanted to inform me that she was extremely assaulted, violently assaulted, and she is now permanently disabled. She was kicked in the head multiple times. She was kicked and stomped on the neck and the head and her back, violently choked, her head bouncing against the wall numerous times. She was thrown into the wall multiple times by the meth-fueled patient who had previously that day been released from jail. She was critically injured. She has a hip tear. Her right shoulder has a tear. She has an impingement syndrome in both shoulders. She had a concussion. She has a post-concussion syndrome, cervical stenosis, disc herniations, severe migraines, limb numbness, and post-traumatic stress disorder. And although this happened a little while ago, she is still out, suffering, and trying to recover. I was in an absolute fight for my life that night, she says. The assault so violent I had never experienced or even imagined that this could happen to me at a hospital. As a 17-year veteran of this hospital security force, I thought that my employer would come to my defense, that they would take better care of me. And although I have been covered on workers' comp, I am not being treated like the loyal employee that I have been, nor have I been recognized for my service or for preventing that outraged meth-fed patient from attacking other staff personnel. It has also saddened me that other staff members did not come to my rescue. My partner was unable to do much himself, and I have been left to stand alone and feel alone since this has happened, even though I am a 17-year veteran of this hospital. I feel forgotten. Security was my life, my identity. I'm just trying to figure out how to heal, how to feel validated, how to feel like what happened to me mattered that night, how my 17 years of service mattered. I saved others from harm. I was there on the front line. I took the bulk of the beating. My partner suffered little, and yet the hospital the president of the facility refuses to recognize what happened, recognize my service, and is putting me in the same category as what many victims feel across the country. I want to tell you, this is not the only email or letter or communication that we receive from not only private security, loss prevention, campus officers, law enforcement across the country on a regular basis. I am happy to say that we're definitely going to recognize this young lady with a Purple Heart for her many injuries that she sustained. And we're going to be notifying the hospital that we're going to take up her case and assist her in any and every possible way. I am disappointed but not surprised how an employer would react this way. They want to cover themselves from any liability. They don't want to say that they're at fault, that they didn't have enough staff, that the personnel weren't properly trained or armed or so forth. So it's an unfortunate situation, but we're going to keep you advised as to what happens with this situation. And if you know of others injured, assaulted, we definitely want to be made aware of that. Email helpdesk@privateofficer.com, because we are working to try to find a way to prevent these things and to help our frontline officers. Also in the news this week, a man died during an altercation with security at the Green Tree Inn that's located in Victorville, California. The 45-year-old man was causing a disturbance when security was notified. They got into an altercation, and the man stumbled out into the parking lot and got into his vehicle, where he was later found dead. Police are investigating, and we really don't know at this point. No charges have been applied. We really don't know what happened at all, so we will be keeping watch on that as well. We also want to recognize a Natchez, Mississippi school security officer, Deatrice Woods, being recognized by her employer for being a security officer who loves to interact with the students and build relationships. We are going to be presenting her an award as well. There are a number of stories. You can get to them every day at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com. Be sure to check those breaking news out. They come out fresh every day. They're not stale. They're not been hanging around for weeks or months or years. We update this blog every day. A foolish situation in Cato Parish, Louisiana. 3 security officers arrested after they were involved in a confrontation at an outdoor riding club event and began firing into the air to break up a fight. Those involved in the fight not arrested, but the 3 security officers arrested for discharging their firearms. That's like firing at a moving vehicle trying to shoot the tires out. That's not part of the training, folks. We don't shoot at cars. This isn't the Wild Wild West. We don't shoot into the air. We only fire our weapon to defend ourselves or others. That's the topic of today's training point, coming up here in a few minutes. Arrest me if you can, and certainly they are. Coming out of Beech Grove, Indiana, an LP agent has been injured. 3 shots were fired at a Walmart during a confrontation with a shoplifter. According to police, an off-duty police officer working security was in the process of arresting a shoplifter when he was able to pull a gun while being handcuffed. Another shopper, seeing this, fired off 3 rounds into the store. Luckily, no one was injured. The suspect is in custody, but the LP agent, well, he has been injured and was sent to the hospital. Over the weekend, multiple shootings. If you're keeping up with the news headlines, Shots being fired from left to right, south to north, east to west, and it's making no sense. Several security officers injured in those shootings. We're still waiting for all of the details. I will tell you that this is not unusual. Whenever there are mass shootings, it always pops off in multiples. We say 3, but obviously in the last 8 days, there's been at least 8 multiple shootings involving multiple people. A 16-year-old has been arrested for murder, a shooting at a mall in California, at another mall in California called Fashion Fair, that's in Fresno. A shooting there was also reported. Greensboro, North Carolina, a security officer was stabbed at a nightclub. Police say that they have suspended the license there. The security officer has been hospitalized. In Nashville, Tennessee, police responding to a shooting at a club there was stopped at the door by security and not allowed inside the bar to investigate. More police officers were called, numerous arrests. That location also has their license suspended. Those security guards, bouncers, whatever they were, should also be put in jail. If you want to see really what's happening in the security business, be sure to check out our blog at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com, because I think you're going to be amazed, surprised, and definitely open your eyes. A lot of different news items happening across the country. We don't have time to go through each and every one, but if you truly want to be informed, then check out the blog. Of course, there was a shooting this past week in Indianapolis, Indiana at the FedEx facility. We were told that a security officer was involved, was there. We don't know if he became one of the victims or one of the 5 that was shot. They did release the name of those dead, not the 5 that was shot, so we are still waiting on that news as well, and we will bring it to you as soon as we have it. A private security firm is being accused again of operating without a license. Layton Security Services has been working on the Dakota Access Pipeline in multiple states. They've been accused of coming into the state and operating without a license in West Virginia, multiple other states. The owner says they're not doing anything wrong. They're not violating any law. Well, authorities in North Dakota, Michigan, Virginia, West Virginia, Iowa, and Ohio all disagree with that. And there were several incidents. There's been several incidents with this company, including pointing an AR-15 at protesters. And so we're going to keep an eye on them as well. In Nevada, police use of force has been limited by the Senate. We're seeing this, of course, across the state. The bottom line is in many states, they want you to wait until you're shot before you can return fire, basically, is what that's going to boil down to, but we'll see. Many other news stories, be sure to check them out. Get the latest breaking news right there in your own email box simply by going to privateofficer.org and sign up today. We're going to take one more quick break. When we come back, we want to talk about Arrest Me If You Can.
More than 114,000 people are waiting on an organ transplant at any given time in the U.S., and at least 80% of those are waiting for a kidney.
For kidneys, it largely defaults to waiting time, but for livers, hearts, and lungs, it's largely based on the degree of illness and how sick someone is, and that defines their priority on the waiting list.
Dr. Charles Rosen, director of the Transplant Center at Mayo Clinic, says living donors can help save people waiting for a kidney or a liver, but those waiting for other organs, unfortunately, have to wait for a deceased donor. Dr. Rosen says if you're interested in saving another person's life with your organs after you die, it's important to sign up as a donor now while you're still alive to save your family from having to make a difficult decision at a difficult time.
We've heard from donor families or potential donor families that decided not to donate because it was such a stressful time in their lives that then 3-6 months later they felt some remorse for not doing that.
For the Mayo Clinic News Network, I'm Ian Ross.
27 Jack, both the victim and the suspect here on 33 just. 134 be advised, Mary Queen, 27 code 6 with the suspect and the victim.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
And move over. When you see lights,
Best. Or reflectors.
please give us some room. Slow down and move over. When you need us,
We've got your back.
you have ours.
You got our back?
You got ours? You got our back? Please, slow down.
And move over.
Arrest me if you can. 612 security officers arrested so far. Over 2,000 security officers are arrested almost every single year. Almost every year, the reasons, the charges continue to be the same. They just go from number 1 to number 10 and back and forth. But I just don't get it. Security officers know, or should know, their limits. What they, can and cannot do. It does boil down to training. It boils down to common sense. It boils down to ethics. It boils down to leadership. It boils down to who that person is. We can give them all the training in the world. We can supervise and manage them to death. We can be there on top of them, but they're still going to break the law in many cases. And some of these are just outrageous. We know the climate that we're living in. We know that police are being scrutinized and arrested even on cases that occurred 2 and 3 years ago. We've seen the headlines. What was okay for police to do 3 years ago is not okay today. And the same goes for private security. Some of the incidents involving security just is ridiculous. Nashville, Tennessee. 2 security officers, one coming on duty and one going off duty, get into a confrontation. A 63-year-old man goes to the car and gets a gun, shoots at the other security officer. Security officers in California, they're guarding anti-abortion protesters. While they are doing that, they use riot control chemical spray canisters against people who were not breaking the law. They get arrested. 3 security officers in Cato Parish, Louisiana, fire off rounds into the air. Why? Because they didn't know better. They didn't have the right training. They had no common sense. They get arrested. Those fighting move on down the road. Security officer in Evanston Township arrested for sexually assaulting multiple students. A Minnesota security officer is charged with murder over a face mask violation. These all happening in this month. This month, owner of security company arrested for animal cruelty of a security dog arrested this month. In New York City, hundreds of unlicensed pretend-to-be security guards are arrested for not having a license. And on and on and on it goes. What is happening? What is happening? TSA agent arrested for sexually assaulting someone at the airport. Even in 2020, 433 security officers were arrested, even though most businesses were closed down or operating at limited hours with limited security, if any at all. And yet, over 400 security guards arrested. Some are just really tempting fate. Arrest me if you can. Well, you will be arrested. Police today are looking at charges in a different light as they see prosecutions now on law enforcement, and they understand that some of the things that they may have let slide before are going to be prosecuted, whether you're a security officer or a police officer. New Mexico middle school security officer arrested for sexual assault at a school on duty. And by the way, we're listing all of the charges of security officers while they're on duty, not while they're at home, not while they're off duty. Idaho Falls nightclub security officer arrested for violently attacking a patron. I don't understand it. We're there to protect and serve. We're there to protect our clients' assets, staff, employees, visitors, and yet we're the ones being arrested. We're not doing our job. Not only are we not doing our job, we're giving a big black eye to the private security industry. Companies like mine, organizations like mine, like Private Officer International, we're trying every day to uplift and professionalize the private security industry. And then we have people like this out there who's doing just the opposite. They're not using their head. They're not being smart. They're not using common sense. They're doing whatever they want. Now, we do know that there are a lot of people in the security industry, just like there are in law enforcement, that just don't belong there. And we're hiring basically from the same pool as any other labor or service-related industry. And that is one problem that we have. I do believe that we need to be able to hire better people, and we need to pay them, and we need to give them benefits. But I have to tell you, even when companies like mine and others that I'm aware of pay premium wages, it doesn't mean that you're going to get premium personnel. We can't babysit them. We can't get into their mind and say, oh, yeah, this guy's a ticking time bomb, and we can't hire them. We have to understand that some people just have no common sense. They don't. And unfortunately, it's bringing serious problems to the industry. How can we avoid having these people in our employ? How can we avoid these people making mistakes? Well, we do need to train them, but we also should, during some type of orientation, read the Riot Act to them. And I do. I want them to know, if you do this, this, and this, there are consequences. If you don't do that, there are consequences. So here's a list of current charges. Most security officers are arrested for some type of excessive force, all the way to murder, aggravated assault with a weapon, This year so far, sadly, we've had 56 security officers arrested for murder, aggravated assault, assault with a weapon. Security officers are arrested frequently for regulatory rules. You're licensed by state. You have to abide by those rules. Police impersonation. It doesn't take much to be arrested for impersonating a law enforcement officer. If you're using blue lights and you know that you're not supposed to, or red lights and you know that you're not supposed to, if you have any insignia that you're not supposed to have that says or makes someone assume that you're a police officer, you can be arrested. If you're carrying a firearm as a felon in a security position, first of all, I don't know why or how you were hired, but second of all, you know you're going to be arrested. That's a felony. Some people are trespassing. Security officers are going into people's homes, apartments, unauthorized. That's trespassing. There are many issues in the security industry, just like any other profession. We're seeing more and more arrests being made. We're seeing more and more security officers being involved in, fatal shooting incidents or a lot of different incidents. And we are seeing now, as more and more businesses are opening up, obviously there's a higher demand for private security. And so we're going to see more incidents. How can we avoid being arrested? We shouldn't say, arrest me if you can. We should say, don't arrest me because you can't. I haven't done anything wrong. Know what the laws are. Obey the laws. Know the rules. Obey the rules. Do the job in a professional manner. We can't be there all the time. We can't be by your side. We can't babysit you, and we can't continue to beg you to do the right thing. Private security is going to be counted on and used more now than ever before with the de-escalation or the big outcry to downsize police, to de-escalate law enforcement out of the situation. We're going to see not only private security, but private police take over many of these responsibilities and duties. And we got to have the right people. We got to have people that are level-headed, common sense, law-abiding. That's going to conclude this episode of the Private Officer Beat Radio. Remember, be sure to participate in the annual Private Officer Memorial coming up here, not too far away. If you know somebody who should be recognized with an award, if you need to nominate yourself, do so. That ends coming up in just a few days as well. God bless, be safe, and we'll see you back here on the radio.